Welcome to another episode of the No Ceilings Podcast. I'm Tyler Metcalf, joined as always by Tyler Rucker. Rucker, how are we doing?
Fantastic. Recording a little earlier today,
We are.
but doing great, Metcalf. I have to just get this out of the way. Congratulations to your Lions last week. They looked very good. That hurt me. Knew it was coming. Better team won in that game, so congratulations. But I'm doing great. We got some college basketball really sneaking back into our lives with authority, so it's just a fantastic time of the year. NBA basketball's back, and football. I mean, it really is the perfect time of the year.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Hanging in there.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. So I'm in Minnesota. So, we classic all 4 seasons, and we are in the heart of fall right now where weather's finally turning, starting to cool off a little bit, down in like the 50s and sunny every day. Trees are turning. They're beautiful. One of the best times of the year. The problem is, though, that those pretty leaves end up falling. And when you have a lot that's a little over half an acre in a more mature neighborhood surrounded by a ton of giant bucking trees, they shed a lot of leaves. So I have been nonstop raking all week. And do you know, like those like big like paper bags that you put leaves and stuff in from like
Yes.
Menards or Lowe's or whatever? I've gone through about 100 of those already, and I haven't even touched the backyard yet. So,
Ooh, yeah. There's
fun.
Nothing will humble you like some good, manual labor, especially when you're like, hey, I have to do this.
Yeah.
Definitely had my fair share of those moments where you're just like, really, you find out a lot about yourself in those moments. you're like, this sucks, but you got to do it. And yeah, we call those character building.
Yeah, well, or testing,
or testing. But that's good.
Yeah,
though,
it just kind of keeps me questioning, like, where are the neighbor kids? Like, I need some entrepreneurial teenager being like, hey, give me $100 to rake your lawn. I'm like, done, please. Where are you? So if you're in the Maple Grove area, hit me up. Well, you missed out on this year, but
if that actually happens, I'll lose my mind. You just got to throw in some good tunes and like just lose yourself. That's some good work there. But I hear you.
Oh, I've cleared out the podcast, the library, so we're good. But that's not why people are here. We'll dive into it. We got a really fun show. You mentioned a lot of basketball coming back. We've had international play back for a little while, which has been a blast. But now we're obviously NBA just started up the other night. Some really fun games, overreactions galore. I love it. And college basketball slowly starting to trickle back in with some preseason scrimmages. I know they're just scrimmages, but for a lot of these guys, it's the first time we're seeing them in these new settings playing different roles. So obviously we're always going to take this stuff with a grain of salt. But when we're seeing guys like Cooper Flagg and Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper, and for the first time in their college uniforms, kind of have to talk about it.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, what are we doing? Come on. It's an exhibition game. Even when it comes to like preseason NBA basketball, I understand when everyone's like, hey, it's this. It's like, it's still basketball. We get to talk about it. It's new. But with the prospects, I think it's even more important because, one, me and you can only take so much high school film before we're like, all right, we get it. Let's go. And two, it's now we get to see the hype kind of coming into fruition, and so far off to a great start. I think you start to kind of get some early questions figured out with a lot of big names, some prospects you might be intrigued about. You start to make note of, circle. You're like, hey, it's just a good little appetizer to get the blood going. So do I overreact too much from these games? No. Do I have a blast of just having college basketball and draft prospects to talk about? Absolutely. I don't know how you feel. I feel just I'm pumped to be like, oh, I get to turn on a game.
I've actually finalized my board already, so we're good.
Yeah.
Next 8 months are going to be a breeze. No, it's you take it with a grain of salt. You take it for what it is, but also what I found really encouraging in these games is these guys weren't treating it like a scrimmage. Like they were playing hard. Like you look at that Rutgers St. John's game. I think those are going to be 2 very good teams. throughout the season, and they were playing like it, and they were playing like they gave a damn. And yeah, Duke played Lincoln, a team that they should and did blow out, but they were playing hard. They were playing like, yeah, we are the better team, and we're going to play like it, and we're going to bury you. So it would be very easy for guys to kind of go through the motions, and if they do, then it's like, oh, okay, well, not loving that you're doing that, but also it's a preseason game and a scrimmage, so I kind of get it. But the fact that they're all out there working their ass off and super competitive, it's kind of a testament to who a lot of these guys are as individuals and how the coaching staff is getting them to buy in and utilize them in a whole bunch of different roles.
Yeah, and I think in previous years, we've had the college. I think one of the complaints, maybe if you want to put it that way, or something that's just irritates me, has been previously like it took a while for the good teams to face each other. Like it was always like, okay, let's get it going. Now this year we're gonna have some games like right out of the gate that are like, whoa, this is big time prospect and college teams matching up. So I do think these exhibition games have been a little bit more exciting because you are seeing some of these teams are a little bit revved up, like you're saying. I also think it's like I love these games to kind of see like, okay, what's the early rotation? Coaches are their vision, maybe some transfer guys. I think this is also big for a lot of guys transfer up and they're like, hey, this could be a sleeper. Like if he has a great fit, there's a name I'll bring up later that we're probably going to talk about. And then I was like, oh, this could be a sleeper for this year's class. It's a stacked year. It's very fun, but I like the opening month because you start to see what's that vision for that coaching staff, that team with this player.
Absolutely. Let's just dive in.
Yeah.
Headline, number one player in the country. Let's start out with Duke. Cooper Flagg, Con Knipple, Darren Harris, Isaiah Evans, Mason Gillis, Tyrese Proctor, Caleb Foster, Kaman Maluak. They're loaded. Where do you want to start?
Duke's loaded. I mean, for anyone that's trying to get caught up, I mean, I know you probably heard in previous years, like, oh, Duke's got a great team. No, this year's Duke team is very deep, very loaded. It's got a mix of talented freshmen. It's got a mix of good transfers, vets. Like, it's just stacked. It's one of those things where I think a lot of us in those ceilings are like, what the hell is going to play? Like, how are they all going to get on the court? Cooper's ridiculous. I've said it. Well, we've said it a bunch, but like Cooper is ridiculous. It's just how much of an impact he has. Yes, we're going off an exhibition game. We can say that 10 more times. It's how much of an impact he makes on like all these plays. It's not just scoring. It's not just shot blocking, but like his feel, making the extra pass. It just looks so effortless. Well, I mean, what did you think?
Yeah, the feel and the decision making looked far superior than what we're used to seeing from a 17-year-old. And he's supposed to be a senior in high school right now. He reclassified. Also, we kind of talked about this before we started recording, and we'll get to these guys later. But God, could you imagine if he didn't reclass and he was with AJ and Cam Boozer in high school still? But he's not, thankfully. Makes our life a lot easier. And he looked like he not only belonged, but almost like he was too good to be out there. I thought he elevated everyone else around him consistently. He played simple. He just made the right decision. It was rare that you just saw him out of place or make a mistake. It was just really solid play. And, again, last time we talked about him, I don't think he's going to be one of these guys that's out there dropping 20, 25 points a night.
No.
But I think he's going to be doing a little bit of everything in every facet of the game that leads to winning basketball and makes everyone else around him better. And life for the opposing team, an absolute nightmare.
I think it was the first play of the game, but he came out and I know you're like, oh, he looked too good, and people will be like, oh gosh, you guys are. No, he did. He looked like a junior, like going out there just being like, give me the ball on the block, let me go to work, bucket. Like it was just so. This kid's 17. You just didn't feel that way at all, and he's just so confident and composed out there. And I like he just has a good balance and good feel of like, okay, let me get mine. Now defense is coming. Let me create for somebody else. The ball moves with him. I think you're spot on. I'm going to be right there with you. I don't think he's going to be this 25 point per game type of guy, even at the NBA level, but I think he's going to be a supercharged connecting piece with perennial all-star upside. And I mean that in like the best possible way. I'm just saying like he's going to have all of the pieces fit together. He's just going to make everyone better. Like you said, Metcalf, and there's so much versatility and potential with his game. Like you could probably play him in 3 positions right now. You could probably, and defensively, he's going to be a nightmare. He had like a sequence of a great play on offense, came down, huge block, like just a bad man all over the place. And it's always fun when we talk about guys with like scouting. One of the scary things is when I can not realize you're on the court. Very easy for me to realize Cooper Flagg's on the court. Like he's just always making an impact on like every play.
When we kind of think about his season going forward and what else there is, for him to do, obviously it's a lot. This is one preseason game. We're done with that qualifier, by the way. Enough of that. But what are we looking for, or what are you looking for in terms of improvement areas?
I'm trying to get away. I mean, the shot is probably.
So I don't have really any questions with the shot. It looks funky because he's so goddamn long, but the improvements I think mechanically and just production wise and efficiency wise over the last year to 2 years to 3 years have been astronomical. Where it's like, is he Kevin Durant? No, obviously not. But is he like a bad shooter? I don't think so. And I think at worst, he's going to be an average shooter. I think the mechanics they look kind of funky, but it goes in a good amount and they're really consistent and they look comfortable for him. And I really like the way that he kind of gets into a shot in a variety of ways, whether it's spotting up or running off screens or pulling up in the mid range, stepping back, adjusting midair and squaring his shoulders and his hips up midair in the mid range, knocking down tough contested stuff. So it kind of goes back to that whole point where we don't think he's going to be this perennial all-time scorer, but I think he's going to be just fine as a shooter and scorer.
Yeah, I guess the shot is the quick thing we always want to point out, but I agree with. Oh man, I don't mean this as a slander, but like if he's Paulo from deep at the next level, we'll be ecstatic. And I'm not saying that's a slander to any of them, but like we don't need him to be a volume 3-point shooter. We just need him to be able to hit a couple out there. You get into that mid 30% from 3. Cooper Flagg's a dangerous person because I also think he has the awareness to understand that he doesn't need to force that and he can get to his spots. I love that, right out of the gate, he started with that little right in the key fadeaway. And I was like, oh gosh, that's going to be difficult to deal with. And he can take it off the bounce. He's got good feel. He's got the ability to make plays like passing off the bounce. Like he's just a very versatile, dangerous piece that I don't think he's ever going to be the go-to, like, oh, go get a bucket and stuff, but he's just going to dissect where the weakness is and find those lapses and be able to attack you in different ways. He's just a smart player out there. And that at 6'9" with length and a high basketball IQ is very dangerous. I mean, what we're defensively, I don't have anything right now.
Literally nothing.
Nothing. And I will find something, but and I'll be nitpicking, but I don't have anything right now. He looked pretty good against Lincoln. So shout out Lincoln. Is there something for you offensively that you're like, hey, I'm getting needy right now, but I'm just going to write this down to kind of see? Or is it just kind of like, hey, I need more time to evaluate?
So like my questions with his offense, they're not like red flags. It's just more like, how high is he going to be able to kind of like push his ceiling? And that comes with like the on-ball creation stuff, the handle. I think it's pretty good in like tight spaces with like 1, maybe 2 moves. Like a little hang dribble crossover into a step back or something, or like when he's operating from the elbow, jab step, pull up going to his left, those kind of tight space situations. But if you just kind of give him the ball, on the wing from 3, 8 seconds left, and like, hey, go break down your defender, I'm not totally convinced that he can do that. In the grand scheme of things, does he have to? Probably not, given his just kind of all around scoring versatility, the passing vision, the all around decision making. He eats up a ton of ground in a real short amount of time with his stride length. But if you really want to be one of these, quote unquote generational prospects and guys who turn into a perennial all NBA type of wing, you're gonna have to be able to go out there and create your own shot. And that all comes from continuing to grow and diversify the handle. And that's really my only kind of major question with this offense right now.
Yeah, I like how you put that. I think that's where I'm at. I want to see, and I'm going to constantly keep reminding myself, I want to see how the progression goes throughout the year. Like, is this a higher ceiling than we thought? And I already have high hopes for him, but I'm wanting to know, like, hey, is there more of an alpha like mode of taking over? Maybe he is going to be a 20-point per game type of guy. Can he be at the end of a game in tight stretches? Can he be the takeover? Like, give me the ball, I'm going to go to work. That's the type of stuff I want to see with Cooper Flagg. Now, one of my favorite guys that was in this prospects that reclassified and should have been a senior, and I loved, with Anthony Edwards.
Yeah.
Different players. And had some crazy moments when, like the Michigan State game, you were like, yep, this one's going to stick in my head. But can Cooper have that game where you're really like, my goodness, and he's a year younger and he's doing this? That's where you start cooking of, oh, there's way more levels to unlock here. And that's what I want to see with him this year is, can we get to that point of like, okay, we're a little bit higher on the ceiling now. Like we're thinking dangerous, because that'll make this class even more special.
Agreed. Moving on. I think we covered everything with Cooper.
Yeah,
right? Yeah, there'll be plenty of Cooper.
Capture the flag.
Con Knipple, very, very impressive showing. I thought he was pretty easily their second best player. It obviously helps when you knock down every 3 that you take. Obviously being a little hyperbolic, but he can play. I was really, really impressed with him.
Like, talk to me. I have a lot of thoughts about Con. Where are you at? Like, are we no judgment preseason?
Yeah,
dangerous mode. Where are you like, oh, give me numbers? Yeah, I feel like I'm there, and I'm like, oh, I might be low.
Kind of in that same.
But I love everyone ahead of him, and I love him. So I'm like, oh, I might be low.
Con or Liam?
Con.
This or that? Con. Okay.
What about you?
I have Con 2 spots higher. Con or Seraph? Very different players, but
Con right now. It's getting Con right now. Con right now. What about you? You have Seraph.
I have Seraph a couple spots higher.
I also don't have my board in front of me, so my board might be just completely
Connor
blind.
Hugo Gonzalez.
Con.
Yep. Okay. What did you like so much?
What did you say?
What did you like so much?
I'm trying to just like it's one of those things where I will always go for the high feel guys that also understand their limitations and how to utilize their strengths. Con is not going to win a sprinting contest. He's not going to be the quickest, but
he put someone on a poster though.
He's smooth. He's sneaky athletic. Slow is smooth. Smooth is fast. So I love his feel. I love the footwork. I'm a sucker for footwork. I think he knows how to set you up to get to where he wants to go. Great shot. He had a sequence I was just like in love with. He hit a 3. I think it might have been a 3. Him and Cooper are going to be like a dangerous 2-man game. You could already see that. And I'm like, oh gosh, they have fantastic chemistry just with like cutting, looking, finding each other. He hit a 3, I think, from a kick from Cooper, came down. They got to stop, came back down, had another chance for a three, like pump faked it, one dribble, and then threw like a little shovel pass for a wide open dunk. I was just like, ooh, my goodness. So he's going to do some dangerous stuff. He's also probably going to absolutely love how much talent they have because he's just going to get some really good looks. And I also think I saw from that game where he can quickly understand the attention he just got from hitting a three. And then he's like, oh, this is going to be wide open. I love that when it's like, hey, just keep playing, trust the system, trust yourself. You don't need to just jack shots up because you can shoot it. I just like a lot what I've seen. And then that dunk was ridiculous.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh, little sneaky athlete, huh?
Where did that come from?
What do you like?
And
what do you like? What are your questions?
And the shooting is the obvious one. And he looks like he's going to be a little more of a movement shooter than Liam. And it wouldn't shock me if he ends up being like the best shooter in this class, kind of pretty easily. But just his general off-ball movement and his off-ball creation where he's able to attack closeouts and make that extra pass, where he's not just a perimeter shooter, where when defenders run him off the line, he's going to make you pay still. He's not taken out of the play. And that's something we harp on all the time with these elite perimeter shooters. It's like, all right, cool. They took you off your spot. Now what? And with a lot of guys, especially on the college level, they're toast. They're done. It's 2 dribbles, get rid of it, or 1 dribble, deep mid-range pull-up. But he's able to kind of keep that dribble alive, make the smart pass. I just showed a clip where he kind of attacked that closeout, snaked over a little bit to move the drop or the rim protector, and then shoveled it off to, I think that was Malawak, could be mistaken, for the wide open dunk. And that kind of stuff is huge because from a college standpoint, that elevates the game of everyone else around you. It helps diversify and make your own offense flow a little better. But then even from an NBA standpoint, it makes your translation all that much more quicker because they don't have to worry about teaching you all that crap because you already know how to do it. So obviously long season, but really encouraging sign. Defensively, I thought it was solid. He's not going to be an all NBA defender, but he seemed like he could hold his own. And a big part of that was I liked the rebounding. Seemed like he had really good instincts, good strength, good position on that a lot. It's just, I'm not sure if there's really anything in terms of on-ball creation with him. Not that there has to be, but if we're talking about improvement areas or weaknesses or whatever platitude you want to throw on that.
Well, it's going to be, it's only a matter of time before people start trying to connect him and Dalton Connect from this year's class. But obviously Khan's freshman and Dalton have more bounce. But I also think like Khan's playmaking, if that's a legit thing, that's a whole nother animal. And I like his footwork a ton. The defense, if it's going to be average, we're going to be talking about a top 10 pick. Like if, not higher, like he doesn't need to do a ton defensively, but I think the creation stuff will be interesting to kind of see. And it's not even just like creating a window or like his own shot. I just want to see, like you're saying, if people run him off, can you create for others? Can you have that good floor awareness that it looks like he has? Just
busted play, final 10 seconds. Ball skips to him on the opposite side. Can he run a quick pick and roll? And get a good look for either himself, the roller, or make a skip pass. So not primary. I promise I'm not trying to put those expectations on him, but a tertiary guy, the occasional second side pick and roll, that kind of stuff. I'm not totally sure that it really influence my ultimate evaluation of him, but it kind of be like the cherry on top. All right, let's kind of speed run through the rest of this Duke team. Tyrese Proctor, Caleb Foster, Kaman Malawak, Zion James, Mason Gillis, Isaiah Evans, Darren Harris. Any of these guys kind of stand out? It didn't seem like Darren Harris or Isaiah Evans really played a whole lot, so I didn't have much of a gauge on them.
Gonna be really tough with this Duke team. I thought Proctor does this every year where I feel like he makes some plays. I'm like, man, there's talent there. I just need it more consistently. But because he is the ultimate tease. He will get you like very excited about, oh man, one play every year. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'll give you another shot. But I'm just wait and see mode. What about you? Anyone?
Foster was kind of disappointing. I was hoping for more. They ran him out with the starters as like the kind of de facto point guard, and it's just I was just really underwhelmed. The spot up shot looked solid, but if you're gonna be out there running point, you're gonna need a lot more. And Tyrese Proctor, some of the passing was really good. Got to the rim whenever he wanted. Shot it confidently, just not consistently. So that I think Duke's point guard spot is going to be, it could be kind of tricky of like who's going to be the organizer and just getting guys in the right spot consistently. And I'm not totally confident that they have that guy. And maybe it ends up being Cooper. But it's probably going to be Proctor at the end of the day. I just kind of left wanting more from that position from Duke.
Their team's too weird right now where I'm having to put serious like hazard lights on when evaluating this team just with all these prospects, because I don't even think they know. Like, I don't think John Shire knows what his team is, right?
Yeah.
I'm more saying like you don't know your rotation yet, and you probably shouldn't. That's what happens when you have so much talent. Ngongba is hurt too. Their big man that I was excited. Their incoming freshman. I always say his name wrong. What is it? Malik?
Kaman Malawak.
Malawak.
See, now I'm overthinking it.
Preseason.
I'm overthinking it.
I couldn't be more patient. Like I'm going to be so patient with him this year because I think you got to be very let him get some run and some time. I'm not going to overreact to that one. I need to get a lot of more tape on him. So this whole team, I'm just being like, I know two. I know the top two that I like on this team, but there's so many other questions with a lot of these prospects that I really, really like, but I just think we need some time to see who kind of cements themselves, who rises to the occasion.
Well, two other guys who are seeming to rise to the occasion are Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper with Rutgers. Let's dive into their matchup with St. John's right after a quick break. So Cooper Flagg has been basically everyone's kind of number one prospect for a few years now. But number two seems to fluctuate depending where you look. If you look on Just Draft Twitter, no one seems to like Ace Bailey, but all of the kind of outlets still have him more or less at 2. And if he's not at 2, he's probably at 3. And his teammate Dylan Harper is probably at 2. I came away really, really impressed with both of them. We got to see them along with Cooper at Hoop Summit back in April. All three of them were really impressive. And this just kind of felt like the natural progression of where those guys are going, where Harper and Bailey are going in their careers. And it started with a really strong performance against what I think is going to be a very, very good St. John's team, well coached and experienced.
Yeah, shout out to my dog Murphy. He also agrees. He's a big fan of Rutgers basketball. I'm a little surprised. It seems like people are still waiting to be just absolutely blown away with Ace Bailey, and like I'm all in on both him and Dylan Harper. Now I could be told I'm taking crazy pills. I get hesitation. Like people be like, "Hey, the shot selection isn't the greatest." I'm like, "Okay, fine. He's 6'10".
Yeah,
so
no, I'm going to push back on that for a second.
Yeah, good. Let's get
heated
up.
Shot creation is not created equal amongst players. So what's a good shot for Ace Bailey may not be a good shot for Con Knippel and vice versa. Would it be great if Ace Bailey got to the rim whenever he wanted? Sure, of course. But when you see some of the fucking pull-up shots that he takes, show me one other guy in this class that can do it at that high of a level that consistently. That's an NBA level shot maker and shot creator. So yeah, is it the most efficient looks? Not always. But am I okay with him taking them? Yeah, because there's no one else in this draft class who can even think about taking those. And maybe Cooper here and there, but the versatility and the dynamic shot creation and on ball creation that Ace Bailey has at 6'10", it's special. It's rare, and we don't get it from guys a whole lot. This just feels a whole lot like the Brandon Miller discourse of, oh my God, he can't make a layup. It's like, well, turns out he's really fucking good. So maybe we should stop overthinking it and just kind of look at what the guy is thriving at instead of overly panicking on some tendency things that can and probably will be worked out of his game.
I love that we're just setting the tone for the year. Like we're getting the rust off now, Metcalf. This is fantastic. I completely agree. Now, yes, there's some shots in that game where I'm like, he took a couple shots where you're like, no. Yes, nice, good shot. He's also 6'10".
Yeah.
A lot of shots to Kevin Durant look bad to others until you realize, oh, it's Kevin Durant. Am I saying Ace Bailey's Kevin Durant? Absolutely not. There's a lot of stuff he's still got to work on with this game. But when we saw him in person, myself, you, Corey, and Albert, we sat around like after the whole week at Hoop Summit, we were talking and we were like, Cooper's legit. He's worth the hype. And we all said, but Ace has that potential holy crap type of ability where if you put everything together, my goodness, we're going to have something fun. Now, then framed. Yes, he's 6'10". He's a teenager. I think he might be the biggest guy on Rutgers' team. So I'm worried about he's going to be the rebounder all year and the rim protector. And he's going to be looking bad sometimes. And it's going to be like, well, he's the only size. He's trying to make something happen. I just think there's some stuff he does on the court that you can't teach. And it's special. And that's why I love him as a prospect, because it is the tools are there. It's just when it comes together. It's not a matter of if, it's when. And we saw the type of kid he was that week on the practice court. He's got it. Yeah. He is a dog. He's a heck of a teammate. And Corey went and saw their practices again. Said same thing. Yeah, it's just the exact same thing we saw. He just is always talking. He's always like pumping people up. So I think he's going to be one of these players that teams are going to love, but they're going to understand it's going to need a little bit of time for some seasoning. But that's the one I'd want to gamble on. Like if I don't get Cooper, I'd be very pumped about these other two choices. And we haven't even talked about Dylan. What else did you like?
I came away encouraged with his defense. On ball, I thought on ball was good. Off ball was erratic, and there was some really good stuff. I think the intentionality and the desire to be a good off ball defender was there, but it also felt like he kind of kept slipping back into some old habits of how he was asked to defend in high school. Can't remember who, but in our chat, someone pointed out that he played a lot of zone as the guy in the middle. So he was the rim protector in high school, basically playing de facto center in high school. And when you saw him as the low man and kind of having to tag and recover, you could see a lot of those old habits kind of coming back out, where he's getting caught way too far under the rim or way too into the lane and leaving himself a really, really long ways to recover, basically giving up a handful of open, corner or wing threes just because of how far down he had to sink. So I think those will kind of get worked out of his game in time, but that's just a repetition thing. And that's just a experience of playing more on the wing and not as just the center. So overall, I wouldn't classify the defense as good in that game, but I think there's plenty there to be encouraged about going forward.
Yeah, I was very encouraged. I thought he had a couple sequences of like showing good awareness off the ball. Like I like how you phrased that, where it's like there was a clear desire or like understanding of where he should be or what he's trying to work on. I think it was a fantastic film game for that staff of probably looking like, this is why we're getting rid of this habit. This is what you want to work on. That stuff is like you're a new coaching staff. You're trying to remove high school habits from some of these incoming studs. And he had one sequence where I thought his hands were fantastic on like a strip. I like it. I think it's a great foundation to work off of. And also, like, 6'10" teenager plays on the perimeter. We're asking a lot immediately out of the gate. And it's like, these will take time. The Brandon Miller discourse drove me insane. And now I'm like, are we really going to, this is the one, this is the target for the year? Like, everyone just decided it. Where did I miss the meeting? I'm very, very excited about Ace Bailey. I'll take any stock anyone's selling. So pay with cash, Bitcoin, whatever you want.
Let's talk about his teammate, Dylan Harper, who a lot of people have at number 2.
Yeah, 2.
I have at 3. I can't imagine having him much lower. Really impressive again. I just, everything we saw in person just it pops on the court too, where the on-ball defense is fantastic. The passing, the playmaking, the field, the decision-making, the individual shot creation, the scoring versatility. I have some questions and some things need to get ironed with the perimeter shot, but so much of who he is as a player is exactly what NBA teams are looking for from their lead guard now. And it's tough to be anything other than incredibly excited about this Rutgers season. And he's a huge, huge part of that.
He impresses me more every single time I watch him. And it's always something other. Like, there's always another part of his game that I just come away like, man, he can play. I get everyone that has him at 2. I get if you're all in on him. I completely understand, because the funny thing is, every time I watch him, I remind myself of how big he is. Like, I always want him to be like 6'3", and I'm like, no, he's big. He's like 6'6", 6'5" guard with great field,
stocky and strong,
knows how to use his body, and he knows he can overpower you. I think like the first drive of the game, he had a beautiful like high touch off the glass finish. Just does a lot of really good stuff, and then the defense all of a sudden starts cooking, and you're just like, woo, this could have a lot of fun for a franchise as a backcourt, I guess franchise point guard, if you want to put it that way, or just someone that can play a combo guard and be one of the dudes. Like, I think he's an absolute stud. Those are my 3. I feel pretty damn good about him, and it's going to be a lot of people's top 3. And if you don't have Ace Bailey up there, I get it, but that's me. I'm just trying to be nice. Politically correct. Ace's upside is as big as anyone's.
Yeah.
Like, it is. Ace has upside to be his higher upside than Cooper. I absolutely believe that. But Cooper just has, we're going to fix your franchise pretty quick potential. And then Dylan, I don't think he's close. I think Dylan, like, far is what I'm saying. Like, I don't think he's far off from those 2. I think he's in, you can put him in that conversation for sure. Like, he is an absolute stud. I love the way he plays the game.
It wouldn't surprise me at all if he ends up as one of like the best point of attack defenders in this class. Just the way he moves his feet, leverages his strength, and just bullies guys. And he is competitive as all hell. And the way that he can just single-handedly disrupt an offense by just playing bully ball, but on defense, is special. And that alone is really intriguing, thinking of his NBA translation. And then you get into the offensive stuff, and it's just, I don't know what else you would want from your lead guard, especially in a college context. But you know what? We're here. It's preseason. Let's nitpick a little bit. Where are you at with the shot?
Nitpicking. Like, it feels fine, but I'm like, I need more. I'm not convinced. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm like, it looks fine. I just am like, I don't think I'm convinced yet. Now, I'm not saying he needs to overhaul it or anything. I think I just need to see if you can be. Are you going to be flirting around 40%, or is this going to be a box score filler that maybe is like low 30s? Now everyone could be like, hey, in high school he shot the. I get it. I'm more just saying it's a different world. If Dylan Harper is going to be shooting low 40s or something from deep and putting up crazy numbers, like, holy crap. And think there's a realistic shot that happens. But if it's a lower, that's just one of the parts of his game where I'm like, I just need to be convinced more. Might be a repetition thing. Might just be he needs to hit a couple, and his bread and butter is the in between game. Does that make sense? Like where are you?
No, the mid range looks infinitely more comfortable for him than the perimeter, where and he had like this one where he drove, little kind of hesitation, turn around, sends the defender flying, hits this fade away from the elbow. It's like, holy crap, that was smooth, great arc, great touch, pure. But then, from behind the arc, it just looked a little more strenuous for him. And I don't know if that's a conditioning thing, a mechanic thing, just a comfort level thing. But like the arc on it didn't feel consistent. It felt like he may have had a little more of a hitch from outside than in the mid range. It just didn't feel as smooth as, from one area to the other. And again, we're not overhauling anything. It's just like, I don't remember that, but
feels like a golfer that is just outstanding with irons, and he could hit a 3-wood off the fairway or hit a 3-iron, and he's just like, just give me the iron. I've been hitting it good today. Like, and I guess I don't know. I feel like it's going to come around. I just think right now it looks way more effortless and comfortable in that mid range, getting to that spots, and I'm not worried about it. But
it also wouldn't shock me if he's around 32% from 3 this year, and people panic over it,
and people like freak out. Oh, he can't shoot, and then he goes and hangs out with Ryan Dunn in the offseason because apparently that fixes everything.
All right. Anything else on either Ace or Dylan?
No, I mean, we're cooking. Like, this is a fantastic class. Like, check. Like, happy, very happy right now.
Incredibly happy. And there were a handful of other scrimmages that we'll just kind of bounce around to before wrapping up with AJ Dybantsa versus Cam Boozer the other day after our last ad break. Okay, Rucker. Handful of other games. West Virginia played, Arizona played, Kentucky played yesterday or Wednesday. Just let's bounce around. What stood out? What did you like? What didn't you like?
I still got to watch Kentucky, so I figured we can at least tiptoe. I've seen a little bit, but I haven't done my full dive. Arizona looks very fun. Still very intrigued about KJ Lewis. Trey Townsend, I think, is on sleeper watch for everyone. Transferred there, floor spacer, good size. He looked like he was like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. Transferred from Oakland, I believe, off the top of my head. He was like 6 for 6 from deep, I think, at one point. Just quick shooter where I'm like, hey, maybe this is a second rounder with size that can space the floor. Trying to think. KJ Lewis looked really, really good. Carter Bryant.
How did KJ's offense look? Because we know the defense is insane.
It's still the same, where he just understands he can bully to people and get to places. He looks more confident at least doing it. Okay. But they had I forget who they played. It was
Eastern New Mexico.
Yeah, it was a fun final score. That's right. Shout out Eastern New Mexico. Everybody knows I'm a big Eastern New Mexico fan, but it was a big final score.
What about Anthony Del Orso?
He had I still think transfer. I really, really like him. He can be a bucket. He had one sequence in transition. He passed up a 3, and I was like, if he does that again, he won't play. And then he came down and hit like 2 straight, and I was like, thank you. They got a fun team. They got a lot of talent. I would be keeping a close eye on U of A this year. I keep telling Carter Bryant looked very, very good. I think he's going to start earning more minutes, and he just was making some really nice reads, some plays, getting to his spots. They got a tough team, so it's going to be Krivas. They got some transfers. It's going to be an interesting team to watch. I think Krivas didn't start. I don't even know if he played. Just trying to do 3 things at once, but KJ is the one to watch, I think, for sure. And then there's a couple sleepers you got to keep an eye on.
Cool.
Talk to me. What do you got? Who caught your eyes?
Yeah. Let's go the West Virginia game.
Yeah, why
So
not?
obviously new coach, Coach DeVries, who also brought his son Tucker over from Drake. I thought Tucker looked very much the same to me,
Oh
and that's
gosh.
just a very solid, good player.
Just
I'm not the highest Tucker fan. There are some big time uh, fans over at
this
No Ceilings. I'm
there's
not
the
quite there.
streets have been fighting. The streets have had a war over Tucker, which it was not on my bingo card to start the preseason or start the draft season.
No,
Did he
and
look at
he
better
looked good.
shape?
He looked
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought he looked a little slimmer, little quicker left to right, but not like I I didn't think he looked outlandishly different. Just but still a little lighter on his feet. It didn't affect his offense really at all. He left some shots short pretty consistently, but the overall scoring, the passing, the playmaking, the rebounding is all really fantastic. Um, what really stood out was how good his hands were on defense, whether it's on ball,
Okay.
deflecting passes, kind of being like that help shot blocker, kind of like what Buzelis did with the elite last year, coming from behind. Not that explosive,
I
um,
wasn't expecting a
but like
Buzella
where
shout out from
no, but
you.
like where a guy would get like kind of like walled up and he
Yeah,
would
yeah,
come
yeah,
over
yeah.
and deflect it, or that kind of stuff. So the positioning, the defensive hands were all really impressive. I don't think he's going to really kind of struggle to fit in. But again, they're going against Charleston, who's a decent program, but excited to see what that continues to look like for him once he's in what they're Big 12 now, right? I get all these
I
mixed
can't
up.
keep track. I think everyone has a
Um,
bye year where they
well,
can kind of figure it out.
once they get into conference play and they're playing those teams 3 times a week rather than once or twice in the season. So
Yeah,
good start.
he's still gonna be. I've always said this: if you're a shooter and you can shoot it at a high clip, you're gonna be a popular name in
Yeah.
draft circles. If you have size with that, you're really gonna be popular. I think he doesn't need to do much this year. If he shows some improvements defensively, it's gonna be a big boost for him. So I wouldn't be shocked if Tucker heats up again. What else you got? Well, I'm trying to think of other scrimmages. North
Amani
Carolina
Han-
says Trimble.
I'm not done with West Virginia. There's
Okay, well, it's
handful
up.
of names here. My
Geez, what are we gonna
God.
do? Go down the roster?
God.
Okay, I thought we were going back and forth
Amani
talking about
Hansberry.
who. Okay, Amani.
Hansberry with West Virginia looked solid. Transfer from Illinois. Sincere Harris, same thing. Turns out he can still defend at a freakishly good level. Not
You got a
very
little
sure.
like twinkle in your eye about West Virginia basketball. Are you gonna start like singing Country Roads on podcasts? Like,
No, they're just
I love
fun.
this out of you. Okay.
I think they're going to be a nightmare on defense between Harris, Hansberry, and then Toby Okani as well. I thought there's some nice connective tools with him on offense. Defense looked really good. And then finally they had a freshman, Jonathan Powell, who was like, holy shit, this kid can shoot. So keep an eye on him. I liked his on-ball defense a lot too. Really good length. Looks like a nasty shooter. Some of the off-ball defense was like, no, okay, yeah, you're a true freshman. Not much in terms of on-ball creation, but looks like a big-time shooter with some real defensive potential. Sorry.
No,
Now what would you like to talk about, Mr. Rucker?
I really apologize for that. Yeah, North Carolina, I think Seth Trimble has been a name that people have been waiting to see, like, oh, if he's going to take a leap. Junior dropped 33 in scrimmage. I always like when, I think those are the big ones when someone's been buzzing, like a lot of preseason practices, preseason stuff, and then all of a sudden they come out in that first game and just blow up. You're like, ooh, here we go.
On defense last year.
So all of a sudden those worlds collide. We could start cooking. I don't care if you're a junior. We like upperclassmen too, folks. It doesn't just have to be a freshman. So I'm excited about that. I think it was just kind of like for obviously Ian Jackson and your boy Drake Powell, like wait and see. Had some moments, but yeah. Oh, and my boy Elliot Cadeau, I think, had like double-digit assists or something.
I would imagine that happens more often than not this year. God, their transition
on the little
offense
guys
could be awesome.
Very fun. What else you got?
Zuby Ejiofor for St. John's, stepping out, knocking down some threes, rebounded at a really high level. It's kind of fun. Didn't expect that. Former Kansas Jayhawk. And then North Texas transfer Aaron Scott for St. John's as well. The shot looked really good. So if the defense kind of continues to improve and get a little more consistent, tends to happen with Rick Pitino guys, and that shot is still there. I thought some of the scoring stuff at North Texas with him last year was really fun, and if he can do that at a big time conference, at a big time program for a big time coach, could be a late second round UDFA sleeper type guy. Come next summer. So I thought that was really encouraging.
I mean, that's only exhibition stuff I have. You want to just talk about AJ and Boozer? Hit me with it. I haven't watched the game yet. Everyone's buzzing about it. I watched a little bit of stuff, and I need to sit down and do a full deep watch because everyone won't stop talking about it. And obviously, I like watching AJ. But what are your thoughts? Obviously, overreaction, big board for next year. What is your 1 and 2?
AJ, then Cam.
Okay, everyone's gonna love that out of you. It's funny when it set the No Ceilings chat on fire. It also set the internet on fire. It's funny, some of those clips, I had the same reaction. You made some comments. I was like, that didn't look comfortable. And it also looked easy. So I was just like, this is so strange. But what were your thoughts? Hit me with it.
I mean, both these guys are insane. And if you land either of them, I think you're going to be incredibly happy. AJ just looks different.
So I love Boozer. Boozer. AJ
same.
Just has that, oh my gosh. But Boozer's a beast.
So the game was kind of like a story of two halves, where first half AJ just took over, insane shot making, showed some playmaking flashes as well, and Boozer kind of settled a lot for jumpers and couldn't hit anything. So that's, for me, that's the big question mark with him going forward, is how realistically can he space the floor? And in that game, he didn't, and he struggled. And then in the second half, he just said, fuck this, I'm going down to the block. I'm playing bully ball because I have NBA strength already, and none of you tiny people on Utah prep can deal with me right now. So he went bully ball, and then AJ kind of looked like he got tired or gassed, and just kind of settled a lot for some tough jumpers, and they didn't fall. So kind of flipped. Utah prep held on, close win, but I saw a lot of just pearl clutching over AJ's shot selection, and it's like, and people like, oh, if you're that big and athletic, why aren't you getting to the rim whenever you want? Did you ever happen to notice that their gap defense was incredibly aggressive and everyone was in the paint? You want him driving into 5 guys with Cam Boozer being the help rim protector? Probably not. Instead, he's kind of showed off some of the more impressive individual shot creation that you'll see from a high school senior. And then also the ability to make those skip passes to the opposite corner when the help side defenders got way too aggressive. He started to show some improved playmaking, and that's what you want from him, because every level he goes up, that spacing is only going to get better. And so he's got to keep showing that playmaking stuff. I have zero concerns about him ever getting to the rim or being passive in terms of his scoring aggressiveness or any of that. So it felt like a big time overreaction and completely ignoring context on how Columbus was defending him, because he is the guy on that Utah prep team, and they defended him like it.
Paint touches and shot selection apparently it's the year of that, and so
they're important.
They're important, but I get when they are
context
important,
matters.
But context matters. You have to watch the game flow. You got to watch the situation, like what's going on. What is the other team trying to do? Are they just daring you to take this? It's just amazing. Like everyone, that's the first thing, is to point out shot selection. It's like shot selection with certain type of players matters. a 6'10", 6'9" guy's shot selection is going to be a little bit different than a 6'3" guy because he's probably going to be taller than most guys guarding him. I understand. I'm the first person to be like, ooh, that shot's a little gross, but also I was 5 inches taller than the guy in front of me. I feel pretty good about getting my shot up if I have a high release and everything. AJ just does some special stuff. I haven't watched it, but from what you just told me, I absolutely love that mentality out of Boozer. It sounds like a halftime switch of enough of this crap.
And his strength, his size, his agility, guys that size should not be as light on their feet as he is. And his feel is through the freaking roof. So
you're just talking to me about another Paulo? Like, but that's what I'm saying. Like
he's not that level of passer. He's a good passer. He's a good connective passer. But I don't think he's the playmaker Paulo was. I don't have a good comp for him right now.
No, I hear you. I just that stuff stands out to me more is when you have that switch of being like to hell with this, and you can just then take over and be a bad dude. I get it. Some people might be like, well, why do you have to get to that switch? If you're just cooking everyone all the time, I understand if all of a sudden you're like, enough of this, let's go. Like, and you're just frustrated. Like, I like when you can dig deep and all of a sudden have a little bit more of an edge in you. Now, I also think me and you love to say, like, high school guys, you get bored after a while. And then all of a sudden you get to that next level and there's another gear that all of a sudden comes to the table. And I don't think you could lose with either guy. I get if you love Boozer, from what I've seen, I'm like, it's a bad beast right now. He's a monster.
Yeah, and you mentioned boredom, and neither of these guys were that in this game, but that's like one of the big pain points when I look back on my past scouting with Paulo and my hesitations with him of just kind of being disinterested in these high school games. And it's like, God, his shot selection sucked. It's like, oh, because he's so much fucking bigger than everyone else out there. He's trying stuff. He's experimenting mid-game, and that's what a lot of these guys do. Not necessarily in this game, because they're the top two guys. They want to beat each other. But when AJ's playing some lesser program and Cam's doing the same thing and they're out there experimenting with stuff, don't clutch pearls over, oh man, that mid-range pull-up was a bad shot. It's like, or it's something he's been working on in practice and is now trying to implement it into an actual live play to get better long term. So
because if Boozer just went down and if AJ went down and dunked the ball every time and Boozer went down and just bullied every single play, we'd be like, cool, they could score from close. They're just stronger, like, or more athletic. What else can they do? Like, that's why high school stuff, I'm like, just pump the brakes. Like, check some boxes and then all of a sudden understand, like, hey, they're working on their game. They're developing. They're unfinished products. So I think both of those guys, from whenever I watch them, I'm just like, just get one. You'd be ecstatic. You'd be very, very happy. And I think that class also has a lot of talent after that. So it's going to be 2 special years, but I can't wait to watch that game later.
It's a blast. Highly recommend it. That's all I got. You good?
All I got. It's fantastic. Can't wait to watch the 3-headed monster with Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey and Cooper Flagg this year, but I can't wait for the rest of the class. We're going to have a lot of fun this year, Metcalf.
Just, ending on that, of course, Rutgers doesn't come to Minnesota this year. Just whoever made these schedules needs to go to jail. And I would be lying if I haven't looked up plane tickets to go see them elsewhere. But this was fun.
Yeah.
Whole lot of NBA basketball throughout this week, handful of scrimmages. Our conference previews, along with individual articles, are starting up Friday, 10/25, over at NoCeilingsNBA.com, and we will be back live with stuff every single day going forward, starting next week. Make sure to go check it out. Subscribe so you don't miss anything. No Ceilings Plus gets you access to a whole bunch of extra stuff, including our private Discord, our individual boards, select articles. You can talk hoops with us whenever you want. Go check it out. We appreciate everyone in the chat. Fun as always. Follow us across socials at No Ceilings NBA. No Ceilings on YouTube. He is Tyler_Rucker. You can follow him at Tyler_Rucker. I am Tyler Metcalf. You can follow me at TMetcalf11. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe, review. And until then, see ya.